Well, the fight over who can go to the bathroom where could go all the way to the Supreme Court. Officials from 11 states are now suing the White House. Their goal, overturning a directive that tells school districts to allow transgender students to use the restroom and locker room of their choice. The state's filing a 32-page lawsuit calling the policy a massive social experiment. The move could cost the states billions in federal education funding, but Texas's Attorney General leading the charge.
By forcing through his policies by executive action, President Obama has excluded the voice of the people. We stand today to ensure that those voices are heard. This crosses socioeconomic lines, Republican-Democrat lines. This is about parents who are upset, grandparents who are upset, and they want to make sure that the safety of their children is taken care of.
With me now to discuss is Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to just first go to the heart of this lawsuit that Louisiana was part of filing. It calls the Obama administration unlawful, this plan, this directive. Why is that?
Well, I mean, think about it. I'm an attorney general here in Louisiana, and every day attorney generals from around the country are fighting things like rooting out public corruption. I have an entire section that deals with child predators, bringing child predators to justice, arresting them, and prosecuting them. And then everyone at all levels of government are dealing with a huge heroin epidemic that's plaguing our society. And today we're talking about bathrooms. I mean, think about it. We're trying to change history here. I mean, since multi-occupancy bathrooms were invented, they've always divided them to a men and a woman's bathroom. But yet here today, with all the problems in the nation, the president is talking about bathrooms. I mean, in the 1960s, President Kennedy was talking about putting a man on the moon. And today, talking about putting boys in girls' bathrooms. I mean, again, this is a complete overreach.
The other side may say, well, who are you to say, you know, what gender is, if it's whether it's on someone's birth certificate or what they identify with?
Well, because first of all, what the president and our governor down here is trying to do is trying to usurp the process of the law. We have a process in this country under which we create these types of policies. They're trying to short-circuit it. Just 2 days ago in our state house, a bill that would create a special class for transgender was killed overwhelmingly in bipartisan support, and yet our governor issues an executive order to try to trump that. Again, that is the problem we're facing here. We're not facing an issue where the president is trying to enforce current law or rights under the Constitution. They're trying to create law using executive fiat.
Well, they say that this is all about Title IX, protecting, making sure there's not discrimination on the basis of sex. And the lawsuit that Louisiana is part of says policies requiring students to use the bathroom corresponding with their birth gender protects children. Protects them from what?
Well, of course it protects them. I mean, think about it, that these particular issues are going to affect 99.95% of the children out there and violate their rights with no demonstrable evidence to the fact that it purports to help the 0.05% that they're trying to shove this policy in place for. You know, again, look, the president...
Go ahead.
No, look, I would believe that the president and my governor believe they identify as infallible, but I believe the law disagrees with them. And I believe that the attorney generals from around the country who have stood up for this are saying, look, there's a process in place, and y'all are violating that process.
But I have to ask you this. What about the protection of transgender people? LGBT advocates point out that transgender women are the victims of sexual assault. So what about if someone is born on the birth certificate, born a boy, then becomes a girl, and then is forced to use a boy's bathroom? So walking into a boy's bathroom as a girl, and that is essentially the policy that you're advocating for, that you say protects all these other children. But what about the transgender child?
Well, what about protecting those 99% of the children? You know, earlier I said I talked about the section that I have that goes after, well, look, again, think about what I said earlier about protecting children from child predators. Again, when you, and I'm not saying that any transgender falls into that particular class, but when you create these types of policies, it has the ability to allow those people who do prey on children, who do prey on them, to camouflage themselves, and creates an environment that's difficult for law enforcement to protect those particular children. That's one particular aspect. But again, let's get back to the root of this. We are trying to identify something that biologically has already been separated. Over hundreds, thousands of years, there's been a complete difference in where the men or a woman in a multiple occupancy restroom go to the restroom.
Okay. Louisiana Attorney General
think
Jeff
about it.
Landry.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's important to hear your perspective. Thank you very much for coming on
Yes,
our
ma'am.
show and explaining where you're coming from. We do appreciate it.